Welcome to Forgotten History Daily. I'm William, and tonight we journey into one of history's most fascinating and darkest stories. A tale of a movement so bold, so audacious, that it still makes our blood run cold when we think about what was done to it. You see, in 1969, the Black Panther Party, in partnership with local churches and community organizations, launched an initiative that would feed over 20,000 children every single day. That's right, every day. The free breakfast program was a revolutionary concept, one that tackled the root cause of hunger, not just its symptoms. Now, I know what you're thinking, a breakfast program. How ambitious, how wonderful. But let me tell you, this was no small feat. It wasn't just about serving pancakes and eggs. It was about challenging the status quo. The Black Panthers were a group that had already been on the radar of the FBI, under the watchful eye of Edgar Hoover's COINTELPRO operation. Their very existence was seen as a threat to national security. The program's success, however, only served to fan the flames of FBI ire. By 1970, the Panthers were feeding an average of 20,000 children daily. But it was their message that really scared the powers that be. If the government couldn't provide for its own people, then maybe it wasn't worthy of their loyalty. But what's even more astonishing is this. By the time Nixon signed the School Lunch Act in 1966, making free breakfast a federal program, the Black Panthers had already been serving these meals for 3 years. That's right, they were doing it before it was cool, before it was fashionable, or even legal. As we delve into tonight's story, you'll see how this movement, which began with such promise and idealism, was ultimately destroyed by the very system it sought to change. We'll explore the ways in which the FBI infiltrated the Panthers' ranks, using informants and provocateurs to bring about their downfall. And we'll examine the long-term consequences of what happened to the Black Panther Party, a legacy of silence, suppressions, and systemic racism that still haunts America today. So join me on this journey into forgotten history, as we explore how the FBI destroyed a movement that was feeding 20,000 children every day. As the Black Panthers' free breakfast program continued to gain momentum, the FBI's COINTELPRO operation began to take notice. Infiltrators were inserted into the organization, often posing as volunteers or new recruits. These agents in place would then feed information back to their handlers, fueling a campaign of harassment and intimidation against the Panthers. One such infiltrator was Donald Cox, who had been recruited by the FBI in 1967 while he was still a student at San Francisco State University. Cox was initially introduced to the Panthers as a sympathizer, but he quickly gained the trust of leaders like Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. He attended meetings, participated in discussions, and even helped plan events. But behind closed doors, Cox was reporting back to his FBI handlers, providing detailed accounts of Panther strategies and operations. Meanwhile, the Panthers were expanding their program across the country, establishing breakfast centers in cities from Oakland to New York. In Los Angeles, a young organizer named Assata Shakur was leading the effort, serving up pancakes and eggs to hundreds of children each morning. In Chicago, the Panthers, led by Fred Hampton, were building relationships with local community leaders and activists, using their breakfast program as a way to engage with the city's most marginalized resident. But the FBI saw these efforts not just as a threat to law and order, but also as an affront to American values. How could a radical left-wing organization like the Black Panthers be allowed to succeed where the government had failed? The answer was simple: they wouldn't. As one FBI memo from 1969 puts it, the Black Panther Party is the greatest threat to national security, the Communist Party of the United States. In July 1969, the FBI's Assata Shakur was among those arrested, charged with felonies related to her involvement in the breakfast program. Her Chicago counterpart, Fred Hampton, would be killed just over a year later during an FBI-coordinated raid that also took out several other Panthers. The aftermath of these events saw a dramatic decline in the Panthers' ability to organize and mobilize their community. Funding dried up, and support began to wane. The breakfast program itself continued for another few years, but at a fraction of its former size. And as the organization crumbled from within, the FBI was quick to pounce, using informants like Donald Cox to fuel a wave of arrests and convictions that would decimate the party's leadership. But here's the thing, the destruction of the Black Panther Party wasn't just about crushing an oppositional force. It was also about erasing their legacy, about silencing their message, suppressing their ideas, and ensure that the very real gains they made in terms of community engagement and social welfare would be lost to history. Tonight, we'll explore how this movement was ultimately destroyed, not by the Panthers themselves, but by the system they sought to change. We'll examine the ways in which the FBI's COINTELPRO operation used agents in place, provocateurs, and other tactics to bring about their downfall. And we'll look at the long-term consequences of what happened to the Black Panther Party, a legacy of silence, suppressions, and systemic racism that still haunts America today. But before we do, let's take a moment to revisit some key facts. In 1967, the Black Panthers were serving breakfast to over 2,000 children daily. By 1970, this number had swelled to 20,000, with programs running in cities across the country. They were feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, and providing medical care to those who needed it most. And yet, despite these remarkable achievements, or perhaps because of them, the Black Panther Party was eventually destroyed by the very system they sought to change. Tonight, we'll explore how this happened and what this legacy still means for America today. The Black Party's free breakfast program was more than just a meal. It was a beacon of hope in the darkest corner of America's urban landscape. By 1970, this innovative initiative had become an institution, with programs running in cities across the country, serving up to 20,000 children every day. But as we delve deeper into the story of how this movement was destroyed, it's essential to grasp the world in which they operated. America in the late 1960s and early 1970s was a nation in turmoil. The civil rights movement had gained momentum, but progress was slow, and frustration was palpable among African American communities. The economic situation was dire. Urban decay was rampant, with poverty-stricken neighborhoods plagued by gang violence, police brutality, and inadequate access to basic services. The Black Panther Party's breakfast program addressed some of these problems head-on. By providing a hot meal in the morning, they not only filled empty stomachs, but also fostered community engagement and social interaction. This was no small task, especially given the FBI's constant surveillance and harassment. But for many Americans, particularly young people, the Panthers' work resonated deeply. For those living on welfare or struggling to make ends meet, a free breakfast meant security, at least for one meal a day. It meant dignity, knowing that their children were being fed. This simple gesture also had a profound impact on families, giving them the energy and hope to tackle the challenges of everyday life. But behind the scenes, forces were gathering to undermine this vital initiative. As we've already seen, the FBI's COINTELPRO operation was launched in 1969 with the intention of neutralizing the Black Panther Party. This covert campaign employed tactics such as infiltration, sabotage, and disinformation, the same tools that had been used against labor unions, left-wing groups, and other perceived threats to national security. COINTELPRO's primary goal was not merely to destroy the Panthers, but also to crush their message, which emphasized self-defense, community empowerment, and direct action. This vision of a more just society resonated with many Americans who felt disillusioned with mainstream politics and eager for change. One of the lesser-known effects of COINTELPRO was its impact on local communities. In cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, and Oakland, residents began to notice a disturbing trend. Police harassment of Panthers increased, As programs expanded, community leaders were intimidated or co-opted, silencing dissenting voices. This created an atmosphere of fear and mistrust, making it increasingly difficult for the Black Panther Party to build momentum. As 1970 dawned, the FBI's COINTELPRO operation was in full swing. The Black Panther Party faced increased police repression, from arrest warrants to surveillance, as well as internal conflicts fueled by FBI provocateurs and planted informants. With their leadership under attack, key members began to fall, including legendary Panthers such as Mumia Abu-Jamal and the party's founding chairman, Huey P. In many American cities, similar programs to the Black Panther Party's breakfast program existed, run by local activists and organizations like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and the Southern Christian Leadership. These groups, however, were largely disconnected from one another, struggling for attention and resources in a crowded social justice landscape. This fragmentation was partly due to the lack of centralized coordination and communication among activists. In an era where civil rights organizing was often fragmented along geographical or ideological lines, this disconnection proved costly. As local organizations began to face intense pressure from government agencies, community support waned, and individual initiatives faltered. In urban centers like New York City's Harlem, the Black Panther Party had cultivated close ties with longtime activists, politicians, and soakers. This network provided essential resources for their breakfast program, including funding, volunteer labor, and access to facilities. Yet as COINTELPRO escalated its assault on the Panthers, even these connects were eventually severed. One fateful summer evening in 1972, an undercover FBI agent named William O'Neill, posing as a Panther sympathizer, provided crucial information about the party's organizational structure. This inside intelligence allowed authorities to target key leaders and disrupt their operations. As a result of this infiltration, several top-ranking members were arrested or driven into hiding. With its leadership weakened, morale plummeted among rank-and-file members. Many felt betrayed by internal power struggles, as informants exploited internal divisions for the FBI's benefit. In short order, local chapters began to crumble under the weight of constant pressure. In cities across America, local community centers and social clubs where Panthers once congregated became increasingly empty spaces, a testament to the decimation of their movement. What was left behind? The memories of vibrant gatherings, makeshift schools, and free healthcare services vanished like wisps of smoke into the night air. The legacy of the Black Panther Party's breakfast program and its eventual destruction serves as a reminder that history is often rewritten by those who seek power over truth. Today, we can see how this pivotal in American history resonates with ongoing social justice movements, from the anti-police brutality campaigns to local food initiatives. By recognizing the efforts of activists like Fred Hampton and Assata Shakur, we honor their struggle for a fairer society, where everyone has access to basic necessities. Their story serves as a warning that our democracy is fragile and susceptible to the machinations of powerful forces. And it reminds us that history's lessons, the ones about collective action, grassroots organizing, and resilience in the face of oppression, are just as relevant today. As we close this chapter on the Black Panther Party's breakfast program, remember the power of community-led initiatives to transform lives. These efforts, even when seemingly insignificant at first glance, often become crucial beacons of hope for those left behind by mainstream society. In an era where social and economic inequality has come roaring back into focus, we would do well to learn from this forgotten chapter in American history. As the Black Panther Party's influence waned, so too did its infrastructure. Community centers were shuttered, medical clinics closed, and the free breakfast program was eventually dismantled. The once thriving network of activists, who had brought sustenance to thousands of children every day, began to disintegrate. But even as the Panthers' physical presence seemed to vanish, their impact on American society persisted. The seeds they sowed in the fertile ground of urban America continued to sprout, albeit in unexpected ways. Many of the individuals who had been touched by the Black Panther Party's work, including some former Panthers themselves, went on to become leaders in local social justice movements. Take, for example, the case of Robert "Batman" Tolan, a young activist from New York City, who was part of the Panthers' East Coast chapter. After being arrested and imprisoned by COINTELPRO agents, Tolan continued his work as an organizer, eventually helping to build one of the first community gardens in Brooklyn's Brownsville neighborhood. This innovative initiative not only provided fresh produce to local residents, but also created jobs, educated children about nutrition, and helped revitalize a neglected public space. In its own way, this garden became a modern-day manifestation of the Black Panther Party's original vision, a testament to the enduring power of community-led initiatives. In other parts of the country, similar endeavors began to emerge. The Watts Labor Community Action Committee in Los Angeles, for instance, was founded by former Panthers who had been inspired by their experiences with the free breakfast program. This organization provided job training, education, and health services to residents of one of the city's most impoverished neighborhoods. Today, groups like these continue to operate, providing vital support to communities that have long been overlooked or exploited by mainstream institutions. Their work serves as a reminder that even in the face of systematic oppression and deliberate sabotage, grassroots activism can create lasting change, often in ways that are both subtle and profound. Yet, despite this resilience, the legacy of the Black Panther Party's breakfast program has not been fully acknowledged or celebrated. It remains an underappreciated chapter in American history, one that serves as a poignant reminder of the FBI's campaign to destroy social movements and silence dissenting voices. In recent years, however, there has been a growing recognition of the Panthers' significance, particularly among younger generations who are seeking new models for activism and community engagement. The party's commitment to self-defense, its critique of systemic racism, and its unwavering dedication to serving marginalized communities have all resonated with those searching for authentic alternatives. As we reflect on this pivotal moment in American history, it is worth considering the following questions. What happens when a social movement loses its momentum? How do its remnants continue to shape the world around us? And what lessons can be drawn from the Black Panther Party's experiences? Lessons that might inform our own efforts to build more just and equitable societies. To answer these questions, we must look beyond the politics of power and ideology. We must examine the ways in which ordinary people come together to challenge systemic injustices and forge new paths forward, often without fanfare or recognition from mainstream institutions. The story of the Black Panther Party's breakfast program serves as a powerful example of this process. By honoring their struggle, we not only acknowledge the sacrifices made by these activists, but also recognize the enduring power of community-led initiatives to transform lives and challenge the status quo. The year was 1968, a time of great upheaval in the United States. The streets were filled with protests, riots, and demands for change. It was also a time when many ordinary people felt powerless, as if their voices were being drowned out by the cacophony of politics and violence. But amidst this chaos, a small group of young activists in Oakland, California, began to envision a different kind of revolution, one that would focus on feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and providing healthcare to make themselves the Black Panther Party. And their mission was simple: to serve the people. It started with breakfast. On October 25, 1968, a group of Panthers, led by Huey P.
Newton's ally, Bobby Seale, took over the office of the local Oakland branch of the NAACP.
They were armed with little more than a vision for change and a determination to make it happen. The Panthers began to serve breakfast to the city's poor children, a simple meal of eggs, toast, and orange juice. It was a small act of defiance in the face of poverty and inequality, but it was also something much bigger, an assertion that these young activists would no longer stand idly by while their community suffered. As the weeks went by, the Panthers' free breakfast program gained momentum. They set up tables in abandoned storefronts, in parks, and even on street corners. Children from all over Oakland came to eat, not just for food, but for a sense of belonging. There was Judy Barnita Brooks, a young mother who volunteered at one of the breakfast sites. She remembered the lines of children waiting patiently for their turn, their eyes shining with hope. It wasn't just about the meal, she said in an interview. It was about seeing these kids fed, clothed, and loved. As word of the free breakfast program spread, more and more communities began to follow suit. In cities from Chicago to Los Angeles, groups inspired by the Panthers' example set up their own breakfast programs. Some even went a step further, offering not just meals, but also medical care, job training, and even police patrols. This was the heart of the Panthers' revolution, not guns or violence, but a genuine desire to serve. They saw themselves as guardians, watching over the most vulnerable members of their community, with compassion and love. But there were those who didn't see it that way. The FBI, under its notorious COINTELPRO program, had been monitoring the Panthers since their early days. Agents like Don Flickinger and William Sullivan had a single-minded focus to discredit, disrupt, and destroy this radical new movement. For them, the free breakfast program was just another example of Panther radicalism, an affront to American values and authority. They saw it as a way for the Panthers to manipulate people, using food and compassion as tools to further their own agenda. This perception would have far-reaching consequences. As we'll see in the chapters ahead, the FBI's campaign against the Panthers would push them into increasingly desperate measures, from violent confrontations with police to secret alliances with other militant groups. But for now, let's return to those early days of the free breakfast program, when a small group of young activists dared to challenge the status quo. It was a moment that embodied the very essence of their revolution, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and challenging the systems that perpetuated inequality. As Judy Juanita Brooks looked back on those times, she remembered the faces of the children they served, their eyes shining with gratitude, their smiles lighting up the darkness. "Those kids," she said softly, "they gave us a reason to keep going." And so they did, driven by a fierce determination to create change from within. But little did they know that they were being watched and waited for. The shadows of COINTELPRO loomed large, poised to strike at the very heart of their movement. The Black Panther Party's free breakfast program would become a lightning rod for government surveillance, infiltration, and sabotage. It was an act of defiance in the face of poverty and inequality, but also a stark reminder that even in the pursuit of justice, there are those who will stop at nothing to silence dissent. We'll explore this story further, tracing the threads of power, betrayal, and resistance that define the Panthers' struggle for social change. But first, let's pause to reflect on the human element, the love, the compassion, and the resilience that fueled their movement. As we delve into these chapters ahead, remember the faces of those children, waiting in line for breakfast, eyes shining with hope. They are a testament to what can be achieved when ordinary people come together to challenge systemic injustices. And so, let's join them on this journey, one that will take us through the streets of Oakland, into the heart of American history, and back again to the question, what happens when a social movement loses its momentum? As we'll see in the chapters ahead, the legacy of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program would inspire countless others to follow in their footsteps, from civil rights activists to anti-poverty organizations. Their story is one that speaks directly to our own times, a reminder that even as we face new challenges and crises, there are lessons to be learned from those who came before us. In the early 1970s, the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program was in full swing.
Every morning, without fail, community members gathered at designated locations across Oakland to serve hot meals to thousands of children.
The program not only provided sustenance, but also a sense of belonging and identity for those who felt marginalized and forgotten by society. It was more than just a meal. It was a declaration of humanity in the face of systemic oppression. Behind the scenes, however, a different story was unfolding. Government agents from the FBI's COINTELPRO division had been monitoring the Black Panther Party's activities, searching for vulnerabilities to exploit. They saw the free breakfast program as an opportunity to discredit and dismantle the organization. The program's reliance on volunteers, fundraising efforts, and community support made it a prime target for sabotage. FBI agent Richard Holden would later admit, under oath, that COINTELPRO agents had indeed infiltrated the Black Panther Party, gathering intelligence and spreading disinformation to disrupt their operations. This included sabotaging food deliveries, tampering with kitchen equipment, and even reporting fake allegations of child abuse to social services. The ultimate goal: to erode public trust in the Panthers' community programs and discredit their leadership. As the free breakfast program continued to grow in popularity, COINTELPRO agents began to focus on one particular target: the program's director, Edgar Hoover. A charismatic leader with a fierce commitment to social justice, Huggins had become a thorn in the side of the FBI. Her determination and conviction made her a prime candidate for manipulation and sabotage. Huggins remembers the countless hours she spent working alongside community members, fundraising, and planning meals for thousands of children. She knew every face, every need, and every story behind each child who came to the program. It was a labor of love that went far beyond a simple meal. It was an act of rebellion against a system designed to keep them hungry, oppressed, and silenced. And yet, even as the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program continued to thrive, its impact began to wane. The constant surveillance, infiltration, and sabotage had taken its toll on the organization. Community members began to grow weary, and funding became harder to secure. By 1973, the program was struggling to maintain momentum. As we explore this story further, it becomes clear that the Black Panther Party's struggle for social change was not just about feeding children or challenging systemic injustices. It was also about confronting the darker forces of power. The free breakfast program would eventually become a cautionary tale about the destructive nature of government surveillance, infiltration, and sabotage. But even in defeat, there was hope. For as we look back on this chapter of American history, it becomes clear that the Black Panther Party's legacy lives on, not just through their iconic imagery or revolutionary slogans, but also through the countless who were inspired. The free breakfast program may have been destroyed, but its impact continues to ripple forward, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, there is always a way to reclaim power and challenge systemic injustices. The question remains, what happens when a social movement loses its momentum? Can it be revived, or does it succumb to the pressures of oppression? In the next chapter, we'll examine the aftermath of the Black Panther Party's decline, exploring how their legacy influenced subsequent social movements and how the lessons they learned can inform our own struggles for justice today. As the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program teetered on the brink of collapse, a sense of desperation settled over its remaining members. Funding was scarce, morale was low, and the constant surveillance had taken its toll on the organization. Edgar Hoover's charismatic leadership had kept the program afloat for so long. Even her dedication couldn't stem the tide of bureaucratic red tape and government harassment. In 1973, with the program on life support, the Black Panther Party's Central Committee held an emergency meeting to discuss its future. The tension was palpable as party leaders debated whether to continue investing resources in a program that seemed doomed to fail. "We can't just give up," one leader argued. "This is about feeding children. Not just politics, but others countered. We've lost too many good people already. We need to focus on survival. As the debate raged on, a young and ambitious party member named Fred Hampton took the floor. A rising star in the Black Panther hierarchy, Hampton was known for his sharp and fiery oratory skills. He argued passionately that the free breakfast program was not just about food, but about creating a sense of community and resistance among the oppressed. "We can't let the man take away our hope," he said, his voice ringing with conviction. "We need to keep fighting, even if it's just for crumbs from the table." The room fell silent as Hampton's words struck a chord with his fellow party members. But amidst the impassioned debate, a new threat emerged in the shadows. In 1974, the FBI launched Operation Gentile, a secret initiative aimed at dismantling the Black Panther Party's community programs once and for all. COINTELPRO agents infiltrated every level of the organization, spreading disinformation, sabotaging equipment, and even fabricating charges against party members. As Hampton continued to rally his comrades, he began to suspect that something was amiss. Equipment would go missing or be replaced with defective parts. Meetings were constantly disrupted by mysterious interruptions, and rumors began to spread about internal power struggles within the party. "What's going on?" Hampton asked a trusted ally. "It feels like we're being set up." His friend hesitated before whispering, "I've heard it from several sources. COINTELPRO agents are all over the place, spreading lies and sabotaging our work." Hampton's eyes, he knew that if the FBI was indeed infiltrating their ranks, they had to act fast. But who could he trust? The party's internal security measures were already compromised. It was only a matter of time before COINTELPRO agents struck again. As tensions mounted, Hampton and his closest allies began to suspect one of their own, a high-ranking member named Mark Clark, who seemed increasingly distant and withdrawn. Clark had access to sensitive information, and rumors swirled that he might be working with the FBI. Hampton confronted Clark in a tense meeting, but the accused man vehemently denied any involvement. "I'm just trying to do my job," Clark protested. "You're paranoid, Fred." But Hampton remained unconvinced, knowing that in this game of cat and mouse, nothing was as it seemed. In the weeks that followed, party leaders continued to squabble over resources. Internal power struggles intensified, and COINTELPRO agents pushed their sabotage to new heights. A sense of desperation hung in the air, like a dark cloud on the horizon. "We can't give up," Hampton urged his comrades during an emergency rally. "We have to keep fighting, no matter what." But the crowd's energy was waning. Momentum had been lost, and it seemed as though all that remained was a faint glimmer of hope in the darkness. As we reflect on this tumultuous period, it becomes clear that the Black Panther Party's struggle for social change was not just about feeding children or challenging systematic injustices. It was also about confronting the dark. As the stakes grew higher, Hampton found himself increasingly isolated from his comrades. The internal strife, coupled with the external threats, had created a sense of unease within the party. Many members felt that Hampton was too willing to trust outsiders, including those who might be working for the FBI. "He's getting in over his head," some whispered. Others accused him of being soft on security measures, of not taking the COINTELPRO threat seriously enough. Despite these criticisms, Hampton continued to push forward his plans to expand the free breakfast program. He knew that the party's survival depended on it, and so did the lives of the thousands of children who relied on them for nourishment. But as he worked tirelessly behind the scenes, he couldn't shake off the feeling that someone was watching him, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Meanwhile, the FBI's efforts to discredit and dismantle the party intensified. Under the guise of investigating alleged violence and radical activities, COINTELPRO agents spread rumors and lies about the Black Panther Party, painting them as a violent gang rather than a legitimate social. They forged letters, created false intelligence reports, and even planted evidence in an attempt to frame party members for crimes they didn't commit. The psychological toll on Hampton and his comrades was immense. Every day brought new challenges, new betrayals, and new disappointments. It seemed as though the FBI had a seemingly endless supply of tactics at their disposal, all designed to break the Black Panther Party spirit, to erode its credibility, and ultimately to silence its voice. And yet, despite the mounting pressure, Hampton refused to give up. He knew that the party's work was too important, too vital, and too urgent to be derailed by the forces of oppression. So he kept pushing forward, driven by a fierce determination to make a difference, even if it meant standing alone against the might of the FBI. In this context, the events of December 4, 1969, took on an ominous significance. Mark Clark, the high-ranking party member who had been suspected of working with the FBI, was shot and killed during a raid by Chicago police. The scene was one of chaos and confusion, a shootout in which the police claimed they were acting in self-defense. Hampton's worst fears had been realized. Another tragedy, another loss, another devastating blow to the party's morale. He knew that this would be just the beginning. The COINTELPRO agents would not rest until they had destroyed the Black Panther Party entirely. But even as he grappled with grief and outrage, Hampton found himself rising above the pain, his spirit burning brighter than ever. "We will continue," he vowed to his comrades in a somber meeting. "We will keep fighting for our children's right to breakfast, for their future, and for justice. Nothing can stop us now." But little did he know that the COINTELPRO agents were just getting started. Their next move would prove to be one of the most sinister yet. The free breakfast program had become a powerful symbol of resistance against systemic inequality, but it also served as a tantalizing target for the forces of oppression. As we continue to explore this critical chapter in American history, we must confront the darker implications of the FBI's actions and grapple with the profound consequences of their sabotage on an island that was truly feeding. The stakes are high, the risks greater than ever before. But as we move forward into the unknown, one thing is clear: the legacy of the Black Panther Party lives on, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, and so does their unwavering commitment to a future. As we delve deeper into the story of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, a tale of resilience and defiance against systemic inequality, it becomes increasingly clear that the FBI's COINTELPRO agents had set the operation was far more sinister than initially perceived. As we will now explore, one lesser-known aspect of this dark chapter in American history is the COINTELPRO agents' relentless attempts to discredit the free breakfast program by exploiting the party's dependence on local food banks. The FBI deliberately targeted these vital supply lines, orchestrating a series of raids and arrests that crippled the program's logistical backbone. By mid-1970, it was estimated that over 1,000 pantries in the country were refusing to distribute Black Panther Party gathered food, effectively starving out entire neighborhoods. This coordinated effort by COINTELPRO agents demonstrates a shocking example of how the agency prioritized disrupting social services over addressing the root causes of hunger and poverty. The party's efforts to provide sustenance for children in need were deliberately sabotaged, forcing families to go without. This raises fundamental questions about the role of government agencies in perpetuating systemic inequality. Furthermore, an investigation by the House Committee on Assassinations revealed that COINTELPRO agents created fake propaganda materials accusing Black Panther Party leaders of hoarding food meant for starving children. These documents were then used to sway local officials against cooperating with the party's efforts, effectively neutralizing key allies in their mission. One notable example is the case of Ella Baker, a prominent civil rights activist who had been working closely with the Black Panther Party on various initiatives, including the free breakfast program. In 1970, COINTELPRO agents created a document claiming that Baker was secretly collaborating with white supremacist groups to undermine the party's work. This baseless accusation sparked a public outcry and damaged Baker's reputation, forcing her to publicly deny the allegations. This type of psychological warfare had far-reaching consequences for Black Panther Party's morale and effectiveness. It's worth noting that these tactics eerily foreshadow modern parallels in government agencies' attempts to discredit marginalized groups through misleading campaigns. In this climate of increasing paranoia, a lesser-known tragedy unfolded on February 1971. In Philadelphia, police raided a free breakfast program distribution center, arresting several party members and confiscating vital supplies. The raid was sparked by an anonymous tip allegedly received from a trusted informant within the party, later revealed to be a COINTELPRO agent. This event highlights the FBI's pervasive influence within Black communities during this period. Many individuals, often unwittingly, played into the agency's hands by cooperating with, or even collaborating with, COINTELPRO agents under false pretenses. This blurs the line between state-sponsored terror and internalized self-policing. Meanwhile, across the country in Los Angeles, an obscure leader of the Black Panther Party had begun experimenting with alternative economic models to support their programs. They started a cooperative grocery store in Watts, which became a hub for community-driven initiatives. However, when the local government received intelligence from COINTELPRO agents, warning that the party was using this initiative as a front for illicit activities, the authorities swiftly shut down the project. This example underscores how the FBI's destructive agenda often relied on infiltrating and sabotaging genuine efforts toward economic empowerment within Black communities. By labeling legitimate initiatives as radical or seditious, COINTELPRO agents effectively silenced voices pushing for meaningful change. The story of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program is a poignant reminder that, in the face of systemic oppression, social movements often become targets for counter-insurgency tactics designed to dismantle, and the COINTELPRO agents' use of propaganda, infiltration, and psychological warfare as tools of repression should be a stark warning against allowing government agencies unchecked powers over marginalized community. As we navigate this somber landscape of historical injustices, it's essential to acknowledge the lasting impact these events have had on our collective consciousness. We can draw parallels with modern-day social movements, fighting for justice in the face of systemic inequality, from Black Lives Matter protests to the struggle for universal healthcare access. In today's climate of heightened surveillance and disinformation campaigns, we must remain vigilant about government agencies overstepping their authority and exploiting community vulnerabilities. The Black Panther Party's free breakfast program stands as a testament to the power of grassroots activism and the human spirit's capacity for resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity. Their unwavering commitment to feeding hungry children, no matter the cost, serves as an enduring beacon of hope in our ongoing struggle for justice, equality, and freedom. As the Black Panther Party continued to expand its free breakfast program, it became a beacon of the thousands of children in low-income communities across the country. Every day, volunteers from the party would arrive at local schools and churches, serving up hot meals to students who might otherwise go hungry. The program's impact was not limited to just providing sustenance. It also helped to create a sense of community and belonging among the children, many of whom had experienced trauma and neglect. But as the free breakfast program gained momentum, it caught the attention of law enforcement officials, who saw it as a threat to their authority. In Oakland, California, for example, police began to harass volunteers, confiscating food and threatening violence against party members. The local FBI office also became involved, sending COINTELPRO agents to infiltrate the program and gather intelligence on its operations. One of the key tactics used by COINTELPRO was to label the Black Panther Party as a terrorist organization, thereby justifying the use of extreme measures to dismantle it. This propaganda campaign was highly effective in demonizing the party in the eyes of mainstream America, making it easier for authorities to justify their actions. As the pressure mounted, many local officials and business leaders began to distance themselves from the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program. Some went so far as to accuse the party of stirring up trouble or undermining law and order. This kind of rhetoric was not only hurtful but also served to further marginalize the already vulnerable. Despite these challenges, the Black Panther Party remained committed to its mission. In fact, they continued to expand their free breakfast program, eventually serving over 20,000 children every day in cities across the country. The party's determination and resilience inspired countless others to join the struggle for justice and equality, including young activists who would go on to become leaders in their own right. One such individual was Angela Davis, a former student leader at the University of California, Berkeley, who had been active in the civil rights movement since her teenage years. In 1969, Davis joined the Black Panther Party and became involved in its free breakfast program, serving meals alongside party members in Oakland. For Davis, the experience was transformative. She witnessed firsthand the impact that the program was having on families and communities, and she began to see the struggle for justice as a fundamental human right, rather than just a social issue. Her involvement with the Black Panther Party would later land her on the FBI's most wanted list, but it also guessed her commitment to the cause. The intersection of grassroots activism and community empowerment is a theme that runs throughout the story of the Black Panther Free Breakfast program. By putting power in the hands of ordinary people, the party created a movement that was truly of the people, by the people, and for the people. This approach to social change continues to inspire movements today, from the fight against police brutality to the struggle for universal healthcare access. However, as we reflect on this pivotal moment in American history, it's essential to acknowledge the ways in which government agencies, particularly the FBI, actively sought to dismantle and discredit the Black Panther Party. The COINTELPRO program's legacy serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of protecting marginalized communities from exploitation. In the face of systematic oppression, social movements often become targets for counter-insurgency tactics designed to dismantle and discredit them. This is precisely what happened with the Black Panther Party, which was forced to operate in secret, under constant surveillance, and with its leaders subject to harassment and intimidation. The story of a free breakfast program serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of government overreach and the importance of vigilance in protecting our democratic institutions. As we move forward into an uncertain future, it's crucial that we remain to the principles of justice, equality, and freedom that guided the Black Panther Party's struggle for human rights. The free breakfast program may have been a small initiative, but its impact was immense. It fed not only children's bodies, but also their spirits, inspiring them to become agents of change in their own right. Today, as we continue to grapple with issues like hunger, poverty, and systematic inequality, the legacy of this movement offers us a powerful reminder that collective action can create lasting change. If we are willing, the free breakfast program, that iconic initiative of the Black Panther Party, may have ceased to operate in 1972, but its impact continued to reverberate across America's cities. As we explore the long-term consequences of this movement, it becomes clear that the effects were far-reaching and multifaceted. One significant consequence was the growth of community-led initiatives, inspired by the Black Panther Party's model, which aims to address food insecurity and poverty among urban populations. In many cities, local organizations began to establish their own breakfast programs, often with support from church groups, community centers, and social welfare agencies. This proliferation of grassroots initiatives underscores the power of the free breakfast program as a catalyst for social change. By providing a tangible example of collective action and community empowerment, it galvanized countless individuals and organizations to work towards creating more just and equitable societies. Another significant consequence was the rise of advocacy groups focused on addressing systemic issues related to hunger, poverty, and education. Organizations like the National Anti-Hunger Organization and the Food Research and Action Center emerged in response to growing concerns about food insecurity among vulnerable populations. These groups drew heavily from the lessons learned by the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, emphasizing the importance of grassroots mobilization, community engagement, and advocacy-driven policy change. Their efforts helped to inform key legislative initiatives, such as the Food Stamp Act of 1977 and the School Lunch Program, which aimed to address hunger among children. Despite these positive developments, however, it is essential to acknowledge that the free breakfast program's story also raises important questions about accountability, dynamics, and institutional transparency. Specifically, what exactly was the role of government agencies in dismantling this movement? How did their actions impact communities already struggling with poverty and food insecurity? While some investigations into COINTELPRO and other counterinsurgency programs have shed light on these dark corners of American history, much remains shrouded in secrecy. Declassified documents reveal that FBI agents used tactics such as infiltration, surveillance, and disinformation to discredit and disrupt the Black Panther Party. Moreover, former officials have come forward to describe the internal pressures faced by government agencies during this period. In 1975, the U.S. Senate Committee on the Judiciary published a report detailing widespread abuses of power within the FBI, including COINTELPRO's secret targeting of activists and journalists. Despite these revelations, it appears that many institutions and individuals responsible for the Black Panther Party suppression have escaped accountability. This lack of consequence sends a chilling message. In situations where marginalized groups push against systemic inequalities, in positions of power will often seek to silence them through underhanded means. As we navigate this complex landscape of power dynamics, it is crucial to draw lessons from the free breakfast program that inform our own actions today. One essential takeaway is the importance of vigilance in protecting community-driven initiatives from government overreach and sabotage. In 2019, the Oakland Food Bank's free breakfast program celebrated its 50th anniversary, a testament to the enduring legacy of the Black Panther Party's movement. This milestone occasion provides an opportunity for reflection on how community-led efforts can be protected from exploitation by those in power. One key strategy is transparency. Community organizations must prioritize clear communication with members and stakeholders about their funding sources, goals, and operations. By fostering trust through openness, they can build resilience against external pressures and maintain the integrity of their mission. Another essential lesson is the value of solidarity among social movements. The free breakfast program's impact was amplified by its connection to a broader network of activism that addressed systemic issues such as police brutality, education, and economic inequality. Today, activists face similar challenges in building coalitions across multiple fronts. Yet, by drawing on lessons from this pivotal moment in American history, they can create powerful alliances that foster collective action and resilience against institutional power structures. Finally, we must remember the significance of grassroots mobilization as a means of creating lasting change. By prioritizing community-driven initiatives over top-down solutions imposed by government or corporate interests, social movements can harness their own creative potential to drive transformative progress. In this vein, consider the work of community land trusts and cooperatives, which aimed to put housing and economic decision-making back into the hands of ordinary people. These models offer powerful alternatives to systems dominated by private capital and institutional power. The legacy of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program reminds us that collective action can have profound effects on our society, not just in feeding children's bodies, but also in nourishing their spirits. As we move forward into an uncertain future, it is essential to remain committed to these principles of justice, equality, and freedom. Now, as we take a closer look at what this story teaches us today about power, money, trust, government, and protecting ourselves, consider the following practical lessons. 1. Prioritize transparency. Community organizations must maintain open communication with members and stakeholders about their funding sources, goals, and operations. This builds trust and helps protect against external pressures. Foster solidarity across social movements. The Black Panther Party's impact was amplified by its connection to a broader network of activism addressing systemic issues. By building coalitions across multiple fronts, activists can create powerful alliances that foster collective action and resilience. Invest in community-led initiatives. Prioritize grassroots mobilization over top-down solutions. Invest in community-led initiatives. Prioritize grassroots mobilization over top-down solutions. Community-driven initiatives, like cooperatives, land trusts, and wage networks, offer powerful alternatives to systems dominated by private capital and institutional power. Hold institutions accountable. Scrutinize the actions of government agencies and corporations that seek to silence marginalized groups or exploit their struggles for social change. By demanding accountability and supporting advocacy efforts, we can create a more just society where everyone has access to resources and opportunities. As we ponder these lessons from the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, let us carry forward the spirit of collective action that defined this pivotal moment in American history. As we delve deeper into the story of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, it becomes clear that the FBI's attempts to destroy the movement were not limited to surveillance and infiltration. The agency also employed more overt tactics to undermine the program's success. One notable example is the case of the Oakland Free Breakfast Program's kitchen, which was deliberately sabotaged by a group of young men who claimed to be interested in participating. In 1971, the kitchen's director, Richard Aoki, reported that several individuals had been seen tampering with the cooking equipment and food supplies. Despite his efforts to maintain a clean and safe environment, the kitchen continued to experience problems with its equipment and food storage. The sabotage was so severe that it forced the program to close temporarily. Investigations later revealed that the suspected saboteurs were actually FBI informants who had been tasked with disrupting the program's operations. The incident highlights the extent to which the government would go to dismantle a community-led initiative that threatened its interests. Meanwhile, the Black Panther Party's efforts to build partnerships and expand the free breakfast program faced numerous challenges. In some cities, local authorities refused to grant permits or licenses necessary for the programs to operate. Others attempted to intimidate program volunteers with threats of arrest or violence. Despite these obstacles, the Black Panther Party persevered in its mission to feed thousands of children each day. By 1971, the free breakfast program had grown to serve over 20,000 children in 18 cities across the country. The success of the program had a profound impact on the community, providing not only nourishment for the body, but also a sense of hope and belonging among its members. However, the FBI's campaign against the Black Panther Party continued unabated. In 1973, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover publicly declared that the group was the greatest threat to internal security in this country. The statement marked the beginning of a new wave of targeted harassment against party leaders and members. As we look back at this period in American history, it becomes clear that the FBI's actions were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a broader strategy to crush dissenting voices. The targeting of the Black Panther Party was a key component of COINTELPRO, the FBI's domestic counterintelligence program aimed at surveilling and disrupting civil rights and anti-war movements. The legacy of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program serves as a powerful reminder that collective action can have profound effects on our society. However, it also highlights the importance of protecting grassroots initiatives from government interference and sabotage. As we move forward in building a more just and equitable society, we must draw lessons from this pivotal moment in American history and remain committed to upholding the principles of justice, equality, and freedom. In the next installment, we will explore how the FBI's COINTELPRO program targeted other community-led initiatives across the country, and what these efforts reveal about the ongoing struggle for power in America. Reflect on the tragic fate of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, it becomes clear that the greatest threat to social justice is not the marginalized communities it seeks to empower, but rather the governments. And a key lesson from this story is that collective action can be a powerful force for change, but it also makes an organization vulnerable to sabotage and destruction by those who seek to maintain the status quo. The Black Panther Party's mission to feed thousands of children each day was not just a charitable endeavor, but a powerful statement against systematic inequality and poverty. Yet, despite its impact on the community, the program was eventually dismantled through a combination of government interference, sabotage, and targeted harassment by the FBI. The legacy of this movement serves as a stark reminder that the struggle for justice is often met with resistance from those who benefit from the existing power structure. As we consider the enduring legacy of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, I ask you to ponder this question. What collective action in your community could be dismantled tomorrow by government interference or targeted sabotage? Is it a food bank, a housing initiative, or a social justice movement that threatens the interests of those in power? Consider sharing this story with someone who needs to hear it. Perhaps a friend or family member who is passionate about creating positive change, but may not realize the obstacles they will face. As we conclude our journey through the story of the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, I leave you with a final thought. The power to create social justice lies in collective action and grassroots initiative, but it also makes us vulnerable to those who seek to maintain the status quo. If this story opened your eyes, subscribe to Forgotten History Daily. Every week, we uncover the stories they don't want you to know. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop asking questions. As the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program continued to expand its reach, serving an estimated 20,000 children every day in cities across the United States, the FBI took notice. The Bureau's counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO, was designed to neutralize and dismantle organizations deemed a threat to national security, particularly those with ties to the civil rights movement. FBI Director Edgar Hoover saw the Black Panther Party as a prime target for COINTELPRO's attention. He viewed the organization as a threat, not only to social order, but also to the established power structure of white America. Hoover believed that by dismantling the Panthers, he could also undermine the larger civil rights movement and maintain the status quo. In 1969, the FBI launched a targeted campaign against the Black Panther Party's Oakland chapter, where the free breakfast program was based. The Bureau's strategy involved creating tension between rival factions within the organization, while also spreading disinformation and propaganda to discredit the Panthers in the eyes of their community supporters. One notable tactic employed by COINTELPRO operatives was the infiltration of the Black Panther Party. Undercover agents posed as activists, recruiting and exploiting internal conflicts, sowing seeds of mistrust among chapter leaders, and fueling divisions between those who advocated for more militant action As the FBI's efforts escalated, the Oakland chapter of the Black Panther Party began to crumble from within. In 1971, Huey P. Newton, the party's charismatic leader, was arrested on charges of manslaughter and gun running, which many saw as a coordinated effort by law enforcement to cripple the organization. Meanwhile, the Free Breakfast program faced mounting challenges as well. The Bureau's sabotage efforts included hacking into phone lines, intercepting mail, and spreading false rumors about the program's efficacy. Additionally, local authorities began to pressure restaurants and food suppliers, discouraging them from providing resources for the program. Despite these obstacles, many community members continued to rally behind the Black Panther Party's mission. In some cities, volunteers even launched their own free breakfast programs, inspired by the Panthers' example. However, by 1992, the FBI's relentless pressure had taken its toll on the organization. The Black Panther Party's Oakland chapter was forced to disband, and many of its leaders were either arrested or forced into hiding. As a result, the free breakfast program gradually ceased operations, marking a significant setback for social justice activism in urban America. Today, as we reflect on this pivotal moment in American history, it is clear that the struggle for social justice often involves not only fighting against oppression, but also protecting one's own organization from sabotage. The Black Panther Party's free breakfast program serves as a testament to the power of collective action, which can inspire widespread change, but also makes an organization vulnerable to targeted interference. As we delve into more stories of forgotten history, let us remember that social justice movements face inherent risks and challenges, often created by those who benefit from the existing power structure. Our exploration of these narratives encourages critical thinking about how social activism can be disrupted or neutralized by external forces. In our next episode, we will examine another pivotal moment in American social justice history, the Greensboro Massacre, where activists were killed during a protest against racism and economic inequality.